Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to the Curling Stadium live coverage from the RBC Dominion Securities Western Showdown. We've got men's action this morning, women's playoffs later on today. It's going to be a long and exciting day of curling. This is an A qualifier. The men started Friday, the women started Thursday. So this is the first playoff teams on the men's side to be determined this morning. We've got both A qualifiers. This one featuring Brad Jacobs, Korey Dropkin. As is always the case, the two teams had a practice session before the game and draw to the button to determine who would have last rock in the opening end. Dropkin won the draw to the button, throwing the Yellowstone. After the corner guard thrown up by Brad Jacobs, Korey asked him to lead Thomas Howell to draw to the corner. It's not Thomas Howell, it's Mark Fenner. So Mark Fenner throwing the lead stones now. Thomas Howell is the second, then I would guess. Anders DePera the third. Korey Dropkin, of course, the skip was last. He was in the house. Brad Jacobs, Ben Hubert made the guard on his last one, being asked to make the hit and try to roll in behind that guard here with his second. Brett Gallant is the second. On the right as we look at them, Mark Kennedy the third, and Brad Jacobs the skip. Gets to the nose, not able to make the roll. He's in a rings, shot rock. So now Dropkin for the roll. In behind cover, you saw him gesture. The plan B would be all the way across and then maybe 8 foot on the other side. Has to make sure they roll a little bit. If you hit this right on the nose, you're probably not going to break this. Gets the hit and a roll towards the guard, but he's still going to leave a little bit of air and a chance to roll under. On the brush right away. Still got to curl a little bit. Joyce is close. Gets the hit, rolls across, and that's 3/4 to 7/8 undercover. That's a good shot. Now it was the 5th stone at the end, so they can make a play on the guard now. For the run, and that was Anders DePera. So the lineup they've got listed is quite a bit out of the order that they're actually throwing in. DePera now appears. Mark Fenner's throwing lead, DePera throwing second, and Thomas Howell must be throwing third by process of elimination. Looking to guard that stone, and then 12 foot wants some separation, make that double a little tougher. Curl a little bit, they did leave about half of that stone. The problem with that for Korey Dropkin is he took it out. Guard in a pretty good spot. Rather just coming around a bit better one at a top of the 4-foot buried. So he's going to play the double again. Looks and catch just over the top. Will, and rolls to a corner guard. It's a great shot. Brad's not going to be too interested in going around a corner guard this early in the end. Might try it late in the end just to get the force. For now, we'll come into the 4-foot on the broom side of the center, just to make that roll behind the corner longer. Korey Dropkin probably content to go after the blank here. You see that with a lot of teams, both the men's and women's play. If they get a chance with the hammer to blank the first and hold on to it, that second end, the even ends, it's where they like to have the hammer. But if a deuce falls into his lap, he's going to take it. So you see them already talking about not just a straight peel on this. They're going to try to roll towards the corner guard. If he wants to roll that steep and stay, they're going to have to throw a little bit quieter weight. Hit. Is he going to be thin enough to get into the rings? No, it does leave another tight corner guard. The corners are set up well for them. That one might be a little too tight for Brad Jacobs' liking, and he's going to ask to remove it and try to roll back to the center line area themselves. Should be able to get into the rings off this one. Makes the hit, rolls all the way across, and full 12-foot on the other side. Almost got a little spin into the 8-foot at the end. Hit and stay right there. Mark Kennedy looking over the top, kind of looking for the same thing I am. Do you have to roll inside? They'd love to hit it right on the nose and be in the rings. You roll towards the center and you just make it a little bit easier for Korey Dropkin to try to roll in behind the corner guard. Any sliver of a roll to the inside at all should be in the rings. Nose might be, but it's tough to tell. Brad Jacobs with his first here in the opening end of play. Just looking to make the hit and needs a little bit of a bite. That's what he gets. Korey Dropkin's first thought was just to roll only a few inches, just get a bite of the 12-foot. If think they've settled on trying to get the big roll in behind the corner guard. It's a drastically different shot. This is not one of those where you can set the room down and say we'll get one or the other. You've got to have a set shot in your mind. There's quite a bit of difference in how much you're hitting.
You just kind of get this and meet here. I don't like that. I mean, this is definitely probably a stop.
Already sweeping for Curl. Boy, you don't want to hit this just on the high side. You'd stay out of the rings, and Brad Jacobs would have a chance to come around and maybe get the force. Gets just enough roll to bite the top of the 12-foot. Have to make a play on it. Now, he's going to try to get the roll in behind the guard. There's no reason not to go hard for this roll. If you roll out, you're probably looking at a blank anyway. With the delivery, looking for the out-turn, hit and roll behind the corner. Just to force Korey Dropkin to take a single here. This is close, might be a little too thin, might go too far. Brett Gallant trying to convince it to spin back. He's got a quarter in behind the guard, and he does at least make Korey throw a really wide hit to make the blanket. Of course, nothing's been out this far. Korey aware of that. You can see him cleaning the path all the way down to the hats. About 3/4. Hit that hook anyway. Guard's in his vision. The only thing it's doing is just providing a distraction. Played this open first end, hoping he'd have the chance to blank and retain last rock into the second. He's got the shot. By the guard, makes the hit, and he does roll out of play. We've got a blank here in the opening end of play. No score between Korey Dropkin and Brad Jacobs, second in action right after this. Second end just underway here. The first stone brought into the top of the button area. The first one is the guard and the logo. It's hiding on me. The second one comes around, now looking to freeze on the face of that. Try to get to the inside corner of that red. Kind of caught in no man's land. There wasn't much they could do. It was hanging on the outside of it. It ends up tapping the red to a better freeze on the yellow.
Back each. Back each. Close. Yep, back. Yes. Yes. Let's go. Hard. 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 Eat. Still making slow. Roll up. Four. Four. Trying to do this. This one thing is hit stop. And hopefully goes out.
So looking to get a lot out of this rock. He wants to hit on the inside, get the roll underneath the red guard, and still hoping to make contact with the red-yellow combination at the top of the forefoot. It's going to be tough to get both. I think if you're getting a roll behind the guard, you're probably missing on the red. Gets the yellow, clips the red, but doesn't get the roll behind. And doesn't get the first yellow all the way out of the rings. Did leave a nice lineup on the two reds. They're still lined up with the yellow at the back. Tough spot for Korey Dropkin. He doesn't like those two reds where they are, but he doesn't have to do anything about them. Here's the fifth rock. The fifth rock, the end's already done, so he could make the play on the guard. That's what they're looking for. Run the guard back, clip the one to the top of the 8-foot. Just try to get those two rocks out and roll to a corner guard. Red onto red. Does jam it off that stone at the back. They both roll out. And the original raised stone stays in the 8-foot. Got the guard off the center line though. Brett Gallant looking for the hack weight. Short little run, red onto yellow. Try to roll over to the corner, spread these red rocks out. It's pretty well done. Not looking for a steal so much, it's just making sure they get the opportunity to force. And knowing how well this Dropkin team's hit, really both of these teams, strong hitting teams, so you got to spread your rocks out early and try to hold that force for as long as you can. Dropkin's going to make the hit on what is currently second shot. Try to roll behind the guard. If it over rolls a little bit, they could end up directly in front of shot rocks. A couple of ways this could work out well for them. Makes the hit. They'll roll past the guard. Does stay corner frozen actually on shot on what was shot rock. It's hard to tell who's shot now. I think it's still the red. Hit it right on the nose. They'll both go. Now whether or not you leave the double or not, it'll be flat. These teams can certainly throw hard enough to make those flat doubles. Wondering the same thing. You don't want to roll dead in behind the guard. You'd probably force Korey Dropkin to play the corner freeze and try to get his deuce. But if you roll half behind, it's pretty good. Probably takes away the long flat double. Looping for some curl. He's going to get the double. Will the shooter stay? Does hang on wide at the edge of the 12 foot. There's no double on those two available, and it's not looking like blank. Korey Dropkin thinking about coming around his own guard now. I heard him saying even if it's just full 12 and only second shot for now, there's a chance for a jam on the side. But these rocks move so hard from the hog line in. Plenty of room by the guard, and he's going to end up dead buried. In fact, if anything, maybe a sliver out the other side. So Mark Kennedy going to try to follow it down, stay on the inside corner. They can also tap it a little bit. That's the discussion. Critical to get close to the nose if you're going to play the tap. 3/4 on the high side is frozen. Is still probably shot rock. Maybe 2/3. You get right to the face and freeze, you wouldn't be shot rock in front of the tee line. This is going to have to curl a long way if it's going to get in front of that yellow at all. Plan B now. They might try to come around it. You still got to stay in the 4 foot. Ends up just biting the back corner of the button, and it is fully open. A chance for Dropkin to hit and roll to the open side. Maybe set up the deuce here. Keep the play away from that buried stone. Takes the hit, but on the roll, is he going to stay for second shot? No, it rolls too far. It does stay in the rings, but it's third for now. Gives Brad another chance to play the corner freeze on the yellow. just beside the yellow. I think there's enough room to clear it. I'm not positive it was Korey Dropkin. He's got a sliver of the red stone is under cover. Take the red off the yellow, pushes the yellow over a little bit. You might leave a slash double. In a perfect world, if you put just across the face of the red, push it back and roll over behind cover, that would be great. The question is, can you get across the nose like that when it's slightly buried? And I'm not sure what they've settled on, because he did talk about they could push the yellow stone out into the open and stay right there. I guess as a means of not leaving a double. Or leaving a very difficult double anyway. It's a delicate little shot. So Korey Dropkin with last rock here. This is his first in the second end, trying to make the tap back on Brad Jacobstone and see if he can't set up his deuce. This is going to have to curl a long ways. Makes the tap. Didn't rub the yellow over very far and didn't move the red far enough to be shot rock. The slash double on the yellows is probably there. It should go over the top of the red. You lose your shooter and you leave him an easy shot for two, or for one though. No, there might even be a double for two. If you double the two yellows and lose your shooter, there's a double on the red at the side of the 8 to that red at the back of the 4. And that would be for two. If you get the double, is there a chance you could make the triple? I've looked at that. You make the double and maybe try to save their shooter on the red at the side. The problem is if you move that red all the way out of the 12-foot, there's still going to be the same double for two. This is a tough spot for Brad Jacobs. I know exactly what's causing him the dilemma. Like I don't see what to play here either. I talked about freezing to their own. That's pretty risky. Brett Gallant seems to think that if you hit this right, you hit the yellow, slash it onto the one at the side of the 4-foot, it's going to go across the top of the red. And he seems to think it might actually clip the yellow at the back. Now, if it clips it and rolls everything out, great, then you've made the triple. If it stays there, it really doesn't change anything. Brad talking about rolling over towards their own red. Now, the weight they're going to play to make the double on the yellows, I would think if he's rolling over to his own red, and he's right, the ankle's probably right for that. I think you're kicking the red too far. you could roll over there and sit 3, then the double doesn't help Korey Dropkin. He probably just has to draw for 1. But if you roll over there and tap it out, it'll change the angle a little bit. It'll make it a thinner double. I think he's still going to play it, though. The front end has had their say. They've made their way back down to the other end. Decision has been made yet. Brad's still looking at the freeze on the red, and it's great as long as you get a piece under the yellow, but if you don't, it's a nose hit double for 3, pardon me. Back to playing the double on the yellows. You make the double on the yellows, even if you roll out, at least Korey Dropkin has to make a double to get his deuce. And it's not a gimme double. There's 4.5 feet between them. Brad Jacobs with his final stone here in the second end without last rock, looking for the double on second and third. Makes the flash, catches the second one, but it actually catches the red as well. Well, touched all the rocks as it sits. They've moved the 2 reds back a little farther. The double's still there, but now with it being closer to that yellow, does it clear the yellow? One more look at this, and they had discussed all of these options. They had talked about, Brad thought if you hit it right, you were coming across with your shooter, catch that red at the side. It actually caught the back side of it a little bit, squirted back, got closer to the yellow. I don't think anybody thought they were touching the red at the back of the forefoot, but moved it a little bit as well. You definitely could make the double between the 2 reds. The question now, though, is with there not being a lot of room between the red and the yellow at the back 12, does it clear the yellow? And I'm not sure it does. I don't think Korey's sure it does either, or he'd already be in the hacks. Half a rock is probably a little bit too thick, and I'm pretty sure half a rock would clip that yellow as well, but it might be just there. It's worth taking a run at it. Korey Dropkin's such a good hitter. He probably expects to make the double. He's just so good at these shots. The question is whether or not it can pass the back one. And if you're sure you can make the double, take a run at it. If it clears, this is for 2. Actually, on that last double attempt, he clipped that red out of the side on the other side too. That's not impossible that he could blank the end off this too. You're a little thin on the first one, catch the back end of the second red, and if it doesn't clear the yellow, you know he won't be light on this. Going to be thick on the first one, makes the hit, but it definitely into the second one, and his shooter comes across. Just touches the second red stone, but that's enough to get a single point. Korey Dropkin on the board with a single here in the second. Brad Jacobs gets the force, and we'll have last rock in the third. Hey, event qualifier action here from the RBC Dominion Securities Western Showdown. Brad Jacobs with the hammer, first time in the game. Korey Dropkin with the single in the second end has the lead. They started things off with a center guard just touching the center line, so it's in the no-tick zone. Brad Jacobs calls the corner guard, and now the come-around attempt by Mark Fenner. Had to brush that most of the way down just to make sure they get by, and it does stop just in front of the tee line. Shot rock with a big piece of the button. Brad Jacobs, for now, looking to come around. Yellow sit on the corner of that shot stone. Ben Hebert with draw, comes down to the full 8, not right to the face of the yellow, but he's got a good angle. Sliver under the guard. Being asked to come down to it. I'd like to get to the inside. This is where they got into a little bit of trouble last end. Didn't get to the inside on a shot like this and lined everything up to the shot rock. Comes up a little short here, touches the guard, but does take away the little tap on the red for now. Brad's first thought was to freeze from the other side. And I think part of the reason that he's looking at this, those two stones not overlap, so he's still got run backs available. If there was an overlap, I think you'd see him peel for sure. They did talk about it. As it is, you could put a nose hit run on the one that was just thrown. Yellow onto red onto shot rock, so they've got a shot there. And if they can get this on the corner on the other side, they'd have it from both sides because they could run the other guard onto this one. All these teams so good at the run backs, and it doesn't matter to them necessarily what color stone they're running back. It's just get a good angle in the house first. This one's got a lot of room by the guard. They're sweeping to get it to curl. Outstanding job on the brush by Mark Kennedy. Gets it right down onto the face. Got Dropkin looking at the run back. There's some danger with this, but he's already in trouble. So looking for yellow onto red. Red onto the red that was just thrown. In a perfect world, you'd love to pick it clean. It's possible that everything moves. Stuffed the first one back and actually overlaps the two yellows. So Brad Jacobs sitting one buried, top of the forefoot. Have to think he's coming around the corner here. don't think there's any question that they're coming around the corner. I think the question is how deep does he want it? Kind of heard him say T-line or maybe a little bit better. You can't be up too high in the house. You might leave the double. Right now, that shot stone is very hard for Korey Dropkin to get at. He's either got to double peel the guards or try a corner freeze on and it's overburied from either corner. So it's a tough spot for Korey Dropkin right now. A lot of room by the corner guard. Now we do know there's a lot of late finish here in Swift Current. I don't mind bringing this deep. Don't want to leave the double, which they did definitely deep enough not to do that. Korey's got to do something about that overlap. He's looking at if we make a play on just the one guard, can we run it towards the one that was just thrown? It's actually, I think, trying to make the hit on the guard tighter to the rings. Hit, boy, almost as much as you can see. Might catch the rock at the back of the 8-foot. It's close. Boy, there's the bonus. Not only did he clip it, but he rolled into the open and stays in the rings. It makes coming around the corner guard a little tougher. Probably won't be second shot rock, and he's buried. Still not a bad result. One more look at this, and it is worth it. This is a good shot. Good just to even see the possibility. Clip the back guard of the two. Dead jam it onto the stone at the back of the 8-foot. Brad Jacobs looking at making a play on that stone now. Still got shot rock at the top 4-foot. You can get across the face of this, roll under cover, sit to at least partially buried. On the sweep for curl most of the way down. He gets to the nose, not able to roll it behind cover. Korey Dropkin asking at least one of them to make their way down, maybe two. It's just going to be Thomas Howell wants to see the angles. Just because he can see half of that shot rock, there was no guarantee he was going to come at it directly. He's looking at the run back. He's also looked at, you could hit the stone that was just thrown, roll to the back of the 4-foot. It's a flat roll, but you might be able to get shot rock buried behind the center. You might be able to see enough of the red to make the slash double, the red on the top of the 4. I think most of the discussion has been about that hit and roll to the back of the 4-foot, and the question is, and that's what they're trying to decide, can we roll flat enough to still be shot rock? They've decided that they probably can't get shot rock on the hit and roll, so they're going to play the run back. It's not a gimme that they can get shot rock here, but if you could stuff this to the top of the 8, at least you've got a rock in front of the tee line. to get just a sliver across the face. He's close. Makes the hit. He's a little off the nose on the second one, which allows him to roll over for shot rock. But it looks like there's enough room to come past the nose. One more look at this. He was trying to get just a sliver across the nose and hope to stuff it back there and still leave it half buried. Korey Dropkin, realizing they weren't going to get that, swept the roll over as far as they could. He was trying to get directly in front of the red if he could. It's a tricky rock to remove, but it is there for Mark Kennedy to get just across the nose, make the hit, roll in behind the corner, and sit two. Shot rock would be that stone at the back of the 8 that is wide open, though. To get across the face, or he jams it on his own at the back. Sweeping for curl to the nose and does get past. Takes the hit. Rolls over, if anything, maybe a little bit past the guard, but sitting two for now. Korey standing in behind the red that was just thrown. He's wondering if he could see enough to make the double. They talked about hitting the shot rock and just try to roll buried too, but this was the first one he was looking at, and I think they think it's just there. I think I heard just there as a phrase. He can definitely drive one red onto the second, but if you just dead jam it, that doesn't help. He's got to be able to get close enough to the nose to make the double. Yeah, it's probably there, but it sure looks like you got to come tight by the guard. You probably don't, because it finishes up a little bit. So Korey Dropkin with his first to skip stones here in the third end. He's got the 1 point lead, looking for the double here to take away the deuce opportunity. Well, he's tight by the guard, but he's by. Makes the hit, catches the second one, caught it fairly thin actually, but enough to get it out, and hangs his shooter on for a bite at the edge of the 12. Nice shot by Korey Dropkin. We're going to wear out the replay machine with all the good shots at this end. And not just a good shot by Dropkin, outstanding brushing. They had to really work to get that by the guard. This is a good example, and you've heard us talk about it in previous broadcasts all weekend long, and really all season long. You get so many of these top teams. Strategy decisions are influenced by whether or not you're playing in an odd or an even end. If this was an even end, I think you'd see Brad Jacobs come around to guard, try to get his deuce. For now, in the odd end, where a blank's not a bad result, he's going to play the hit on that little biter and try to roll in behind cover. Makes the hit. Rolls past one guard. Rolls past the second guard, and he will stay for shot. Korey Dropkin will look to make a hit on that stone and try to roll right behind his own yellow guard. It'll be deep, but if you could roll dead behind, you might force Brad Jacobs to try to take a single here. Korey Dropkin with his final stone without last rock here. Made the double on the first to take away the deuce opportunity. Now, if he can get the hit and roll behind cover, can he get the force? Gets the hit. The roll is going to go a little bit too far and right out of play. So it'll be an opportunity for Brad Jacobs to simply throw this one through. Get the blank here in the third end and retain last rock into the fourth. Brad Jacobs with the throw through on his final stone. Not whipping it through like you would have once upon a time. They always want to learn something from every shot, so they got to take a look at what that rock would do down that path. They'll file that information away for later on in this game, and we'll see if it comes back to be useful for them. For now, Brad Jacobs keeps last rock into the fourth end of play. Well, Korey Dropkin had the hammer in the first end, did exactly what he was looking for, got the blank, took the hammer into the second, but unable to generate his deuce. He had maybe a shot for the double on his last one, clipped the back stone and rolled across, got the single. Brad Jacobs had the last rock in the third end, was able to do the same thing, got the blank so that he could keep last rock into the even end, and now we'll see whether or not he can generate his deuce here in the fourth. We see the center guard go up to start the end, a corner to follow, and now Mark Fenner looking to come around his own center guard. It's to the top of the button, but maybe only about 2/3 buried. Ben Hebert will look to follow that down, sit on the face of it. Both brushers down. They've got to go for weight. Not going to get down to the face. Didn't make the rings at all and overlaps. So that's essentially a double guard now on that shot stone top of the button. Korey looking to put one more or a long one up. This is the fifth stone of the end. They know the peels can start after this, so they want to make it as tough as possible. Brad Jacobs is going to have a little work to do to open up the middle so they can get at shot rock. Probably got that guard a little tighter than they would have liked to, and they might have preferred to have it dead lined up to the top yellow of the two guards closer to the rings. It's possible, I think. Well, I thought Brett could get all three guards. Looks like they're just looking for a double. No, it does get all three. Rolls the shooter off all the way to, well, not quite touch the divider. Now, Korey Dropkin looking at peeling the corner guard, and then we might be looking at another blank here. Korey and Brad wondering about that red at the other side. I can tell you that Mark Kennedy was with that rock and he watched it. It did not touch. Makes the peel on the corner guard. So Brett Gallant with the hit on the shot stone. Will stay right there. Both teams will likely be content now to simply exchange hits. We may see a second blank in a row. There's been a lot of discussion at this event and others, and I'm sure around your local curling club about the Grand Slam coming up in January, where they're going to test a rule for the first time that if you blank 2 ends in a row, you lose the hammer. Trying to really quickly find the rosters for that. I'm sure that Brad Jacobs' team will be at that slam. I don't know. Korey Dropkin might be as well. Makes the hit, stays right there. So exchange of hits continues. Makes the hit, rolls a little bit to the outside, but does hang on for a bite of the 12. Well, that's, I have to admit, I chuckled a little bit. That's almost funny. How good are these guys? That rock's only got half of the 12-foot, and Brad Jacobs still looking to roll just a little bit farther to the outside to bring that guard into play. This is such a fine shot if he makes it. This is going to overcurl what they had in mind. May not stay at all. So with the rollout, a chance for Korey Dropkin to simply put a draw somewhere in the middle. Tap the ice for the back 4-foot here, and part of that will be just doesn't want to leave Brad perhaps a chance to try to roll wide to the edge of the 12-foot on that yellow on the other side that might be covered. Puts that back 4 even sliver into the 8-foot, exactly where he wanted it. Brad Jacobs will look to hit. Can't really roll towards the corner. If he was anywhere near that yellow corner guard, which is only protecting a sliver of the 12-foot, by the time you got buried on it, you'd be out of the rings. So he'll just look to hit, stay right there. Same issue for Korey Dropkin, though, really. There's no place he can roll to get any kind of protection without being out of the rings. I mean, if you had to roll behind that yellow corner guard anyway, you're rolling to a very, very small sliver of ice, but you can't do it from a rock that far back. By the time you rolled in behind it, you'd be out of the rings. If this was top 8 foot, they might give it a go. Didn't see any indication that they were going to try any kind of roll just to change the shot. So probably looking to hit right on the nose and force Brad to roll at least 5 feet to get the blank. Going to make the hit, does roll to the broom side. Changes the shot a little bit, but it is a shorter roll now for Brad Jacobs to get the blank. Final stone here, fourth end. Brad Jacobs got the blank in the third, looking for a blank here again in the fourth. Does make the hit, rolls the shooter out of play. After 4 ends of play, it's Korey Dropkin with a lead of 1-0 over Brad Jacobs. Brad Jacobs with last rock again in the fifth. You're watching the A qualifying action from the RBC Dominion Securities Western Showdown. Fifth end underway, and again, we've got some rocks in play to start things off. We'll see whether or not there's any of them left when the end comes to completion. We've got the tight center guard thrown up to start. And Hebert through the corner, and then on the come-around attempt, it comes up a little short. So 3 rocks all in front of the house right now, and Ben Hebert looking to come around the corner. Great line coming by, as you heard Brad Jacobs say, and he comes into the 8-foot dead in behind cover. This is still just the 5th stone of the end, so can't peel the guard. Going to look to follow it down, try to sit on the corner. So it's got a little bit more line than Ben did. Curling now might be a little strong. If you bounce at all, it's going to be open. Well, it just rubs it, actually. Does stay fully open. It is shot rock in the 4-foot. Brett Gallant looking for the hit. Can roll behind cover, sit 2. This is really going to have to curl to get off the center guard, though. Well, great job on the brush by Ben Hebert to get a little bit of curl. Got it off the guard and actually got it to curl enough that he hits, stays in behind cover. It is just behind the tee line, but still slightly overburied on the yellow guard. They're looking at the freeze, now looking at the run. Kind of looked like Korey was asking for a preference. Which one do you like better? They're looking at the reds straight back, try to get the two reds off the side. I think I heard we're always going to have that straight back on the yellow. That's just how much confidence these players have on a run back. They're looking at a run back. It's probably 8 feet between the two stones. And they feel like they don't have to play it now because they're always going to have it. Yeah, I'm seeing what Korey's seeing. They're talking about trying to run the red over the top of the red in the 8 foot and get the double. The problem then is your shooter's rolling towards the center line. Well, if you're looking at always having that run back, you got to be careful where this roll goes. Be really easy if you try to make the over the top here to roll in front of that red or that yellow, and then you don't have that run back on the other side. Makes the hit just by the stone in the rings. Thomas Howell alert on the roll to make sure it does roll past those two at the center line. It's a thin double available on the reds in the house now, so Brad looking to guard the second shot stone. Brett Gallant throwing the corner guard here. A little tighter than the one he was replacing, but it does cover the second shot stone. Going to take another pass at making the double on these two reds on the side. Thomas Howell this time. Makes the hit, but dead stuffs it on the second one. Brad Jacobs continues to sit two. And now where do you put the third one? They're going to make their way down and look at the options here. You get around the wide corner. I mean, in a traditional format, that's probably where you'd want to play. That they're conscious of that run back opportunity in the middle, and they know how good this Dropkin team is at those shots. You might be able to come through that port with the intern, just tuck a little piece and make it tougher. The problem is there's two run backs up there. One's on a slight angle, and if you come around and sit, say, top 12 takeaway run, you'd leave the other one. You'd probably have to be all the way into the 8 foot, I would guess, to take both of them away. Now you could play that. I think they were also talking about, it just looked like just from the gestures on the broom, they were looking at maybe hit the center guard and roll into the ring. So if there's only one guard there, that might leave the corner freeze. I'm not sure I like that. First thought was to come around the corner guard, and it looks like that's what they're going to go back to. They did discuss all the options. One tricky part about a shot like this is you don't often get the chance to go quite this wide, so the broom's going to be a little bit of a guess too. If you're not dead buried, you're going to have to be deep to make sure you don't leave the double onto the shot stone. Mark Kennedy, with his intern being left-hander. Still got a ton of room by the guard. Looking to get it as far back as they can now so they don't leave the double. I think it's far enough back, and it actually got pretty well in behind the guard by getting it that deep too. That is behind the red. So Jacob sits 3, and now it's the Dropkins team's turn to look at the options. The run back's good if you dead stick it. They don't have direct access to any of those red stones. There are probably teams that would try the freeze. Well, you could play the freeze on the in-turn. You actually could just play the come around on the out turn as well. You're playing with fire though if you don't get it right close to the face. Brad Jacobs, no stranger to run backs either. He could play the run back, try to double your shooter out, and he's still sitting 3. I've done a little bit of coaching at times over the years, and this is one of those shots where even if you had a coach and you called him out for a timeout, and I'm a little bit of a sarcastic individual at the best of times, so I did this to a team once, and they called me out for a timeout in a situation that didn't look much better than this, and they said, well, what do you like? And I said, well, I'd like to be throwing red. This is a tough spot. Probably your best result is if you could lock the freeze on, but that's a tough shot. Like, you're coming wider for a draw than you have most of the game. I don't think they're even considering that. They're looking at a run. Oh, maybe they are. We may not know till he puts the broom down. Yeah, they are going to play the freeze. It is the best result, and it's certainly all weekend long it has looked like it is there. The part that makes it difficult is because that rock is a foot off the center line. You've played lots of draws coming towards the center. Really tough, though. It's a bit of a guess when you're trying to draw to a spot that's a foot off the center line yet. Shot's definitely there. It's a bit of a guess. This is the best result, though, so they're going to give it a go. Lots of late finish here. This is going to look like it's a long way out at the hog line. This might be a little strong, though. No good options. Heavy actually goes right by it, and to the back 12. It's already 4th shot. So that stone not a factor. Brad Jacobs considering the options, and his best option might be to try to take that shot away. Just get something there. You see him tapping top 8 foot. You'd like to get a corner in around. It would take one of the run backs available. Maybe just a sliver under the guard. think I heard him say biting forefoot too. By the guard now, is it going to be deep enough to be fourth? It does just bite the 8-foot, I think. A sliver underneath. Korey thinking he might be able to hit enough of it to catch the stone in the forefoot, at least double them out. Might even be able to make the triple off the one at the back, 12. Now his shooter's not going to be far enough in the rings to be even third shot. So even if you make the double, you're still not out of trouble. You still be facing 2 with a chance to draw for 3. If you can make the triple, that'd be a bonus. If you could make the double, it's going that direction. It'd be close to getting all 3 of them. Korey Dropkin without last rock here in the 5th end, in a little bit of trouble. Facing 4 with his first one, but there is a chance for a double. Maybe a triple. Has to get close to the nose. Don't want to dead stuff the first one. Catches the second. Towards the third, but just underneath it, so he does get the double. Leaves the shooter in a good spot. Brad Jacobs continues to sit 2. Really good shot by Korey Dropkin on his first to at least maybe give himself a chance to get out of trouble. The middle's opened up now. If he could get something in behind the yellows, he might even have a chance to steal this in, but how much risk is he willing to take on to do that? Brad Jacobs gets to throw one in there first. First thought was to come around, and I think this call came from the other end. Do you make the double on the yellows? Just stay in the open, and then if Korey Dropkin makes the come around, you might have the angle run in for 3 anyway. I think the other part of this is the feeling, and probably from the entire team, although it was Ben that brought it up, you make the come around, which is the other shot they're looking at. Korey Dropkin's so good at the run backs. He makes the run back, rolls it in behind that wall on the left-hand side as we look from the hacks, right from the overhead, and you've got no way to get at it. Draw was their first thought, though, and it does look like the more natural call. So Brad Jacobs settling into the hacks to throw his first here in the fifth end. Trailing by 1, sitting 2, looking to draw around center, sit 3. And then sit back and wait to see what Korey Dropkin decides to do. Needs to be deep enough he doesn't leave the double off the side one. Yeah, we'll get just deep enough for that. And close to half behind. That's as good a spot as they could put it, I think. It was what they talked about. You get half behind. It makes the run back a little trickier. First thought from the Dropkin team is you follow it down, sit right on the face, and eliminate those 2 on the outside. Still talking about the run back. You got all kinds of room with the run back to roll and still be shot rock behind cover. So that's what they've settled on, is the run back. Probably not throwing this real hard. Similar weight to what he threw on the last one, I would think. Nose hit will roll it towards the wall of yellow on the left-hand side as we look from the hack view. Big shot here for Korey Dropkin, facing 3. Looking to make the short run back and roll it behind cover and see if he can't take all of them away. Sweeping for curl right from the moment he let go. Hits the first one but misses the second. Now he dead stuffs it on the one in the back, and that eliminates one of those reds. I don't really think Brad can get to it either. You could play the double straight back off the top one. It would be for 4. You're already sitting 2. There's a port to draw and get 3. It's not a wide port, but it's there. Brad suggesting he likes the out turn through the hole. And, if you make the port with the draw and I don't think you're ever getting by that yellow at the back. You might even be able to get to the back one and move it far enough to sit 4. Looks like they're talking about the port with back 12 weight. He only needs, if he gets to the yellow, he only needs to move it about, 6 inches is plenty. 4 inches might be enough. It's not going to be a great visual from the hack, but you have to take into consideration that all the movement here all weekend long in Swift Current has been late. So as you're coming into the house, it should really be starting to make a big move. You've been able to overbury on guards anytime you needed to. He just needs to get to touch that yellow stone. Big shot here for Brad Jacobs. Sitting 2. Looking for as many as 4 here if he can make the port. Brushers called out back 8, so they're going to need to help it out a little bit. Made the port. They're looking for the curl now. Will come down, nudges that stone. He will move it just far enough, and his shooter hangs on. Put 4 points on the board for Brad Jacobs. Held on to that hammer until he was able to use it, and uses it with some force. Picks up 4 with a 3-point lead now after 5 ends of play. Korey Dropkin to have last rock in the 6th. Well, it was a big score of 4 for Brad Jacobs. Made the nice shot through the port with his final stone. Touched it back just far enough, and one more look at it. Brushing for curl just to make it through the port. But as we said before the shot, most of the movement all weekend long has been late. If you made the port, there was a good chance you were going to be able to get to that yellow stone. He nudges it back just far enough to pick up his 4. And in a game where both teams are very strong defensively and have demonstrated that all game, a 3-point lead after 5 looks especially huge. Korey Dropkin does have last rock as we begin play here in the 6th, but he's going to have to play fairly aggressively here. He'd love to get at least 2, and you can see them already calling for the second corner guard on the other side. He wants to keep the chance of 3 alive for as long as possible. This is still just the 5th stone of the end, not able to make a play on the guards, so Brad Jacobs opting to come part way around the one that was just delivered, try to choke off the corner guard that way. It's probably a little deeper than they would have liked if they're just trying to choke off the corner guard. It gives Korey the chance to come down, sit on the corner of it. Nothing out of the Brushers so far. Starting to pick it up a little bit now. Line looks good. Will lock it right on the corner. I think he's even enough on the corner that he's sitting 3rd shot. Not that that's critical yet. We're past the 5 rock limit on the free guard zone, so Brad can start making plays on the guards now. His first thought was simply to peel the corner. Not sure what they saw from the hack end. They want to make a play on the yellow in the rings, I guess. Come down, tap the yellow. The yellow's not going anywhere, but you've got to get that red out from behind it, so you've got a chance to get rid of the yellow later. Sweeping for curl right out of his hand. Gets to the yellow with enough weight to kill the red, but rolls off the yellow stone, leaves the 3 reds in a bit of a cluster in the middle. Had to figure Korey was going to try to use these reds. He was just trying to make a decision how. It does look like a very inviting pocket to draw into. He also considered, do you just play the hit and roll in behind the corner off the top one, and you probably dead stuff it and leave a pocket still. They opted for the freeze in the pocket. This needs to get right down to the face of the Reds. Boy, good job by the Brushers to get it as tight as they did. It overcurled the pocket a little bit. Can you make the double on the yellows? Do you need to make the double on the yellows? You could just hit the open yellow one. Brad looking at, if we hit the open yellow one, is there any way we can disturb those Reds so that we don't just leave a wall of granite? So looking to hit the Yellowstone on the edge of the 8-foot, roll towards the Reds, probably tap them a little bit. There's still going to be a bit of a wall for Dropkin to work with. You can really only move one of those Reds out of there. Makes the hit, comes across, does move that red stone maybe a little farther than they would have liked. It's moved into the 12-foot, so currently Jacob's sitting 3. And it kind of looks to me like you're drawn into the pocket again. Looking at the double and roll behind the corner. Well, he's going to play it. What are we on? First stone here. Yeah, I might have played the freeze one more time, but if you get the roll behind the corner here, there's probably not a double on the first yellow just because it's slightly off nose on the red. Makes the hit. A little too thick, though. They don't get the roll in behind cover. Left another red at the back 12. That might help Korey Dropkin later on. Those two stones are, if he gets around the corner on the other side, even half around, those two are potential jam stones. Mark Kennedy can't see quite all of that stone. He's going to have to roll towards the middle. He'd like to get underneath that stagger on the center line. If they could force Korey Dropkin to unlock those two stones in the middle, they might have a chance for a double. Makes the hit. The roll will come behind them, just out past them on the other side. Shot in the back 4-foot. Korey Dropkin looking at the roll behind the corner or even past the corner into those two red catchers at the side. Sweeping for curl early. They've got to get at least to the nose. You sure don't want to roll underneath the red and let them have the chance to run it back. Gets a sliver of a roll behind the corner guard. Might have hung on for shot, hard to tell. Brad wanted to take a look to see how much he can see from the hack end. Love to get to the nose if he could. You can certainly make the hit roll behind the two in the middle, but you might leave the run double. And it's a short one. There'd be enough room there for Korey Dropkin to try to get some separation between the two yellows as well. He could sit two. If you get to the nose, Korey Dropkin might have to try the corner freeze. Tell you what, for a game that started out with 3 blank ends out of the first 4, we've had some very interesting angles to watch here in these last couple of ends. And it worked out really well for Brad Jacobs last end. Korey Dropkin's got some angle to work with at the top. Brad with a nice tap back through there, and he sits 2 for the time being. Hit a ton of room by the guards. Same issue now for Korey Dropkin. Could he get ever so slightly to the inside? Sit second and third. Is that good enough? He's looking at the thin double. It's there. It's really thin. Could make the play on the top one now. Make sure you're sitting second, third. You're going to have a shot at that one at the back or the side. The tricky part, if you play that one in the middle right now, is to not leave a double on the yellows, which is why they're looking at rolling behind the corner guard, and that'll push the yellow into the 8-foot the other direction. You expect that Brad Jacobs then would have to hit the open one in the 8-foot, and you're hoping he would leave you a double for 2. Corner freeze is still an option. You make the corner freeze. You hope that Brad blasts it out. Then you've got the nose hit on the top. You can see a sliver of the red stone at the top of the 4-foot. They even talked about playing the double. So here's the thing. If you made the corner freeze now, even if you overcurled it ever so slightly and you weren't shot rock, now that sliver off the red, you've got a couple of ways to get the second red out. They were also looking at the run back. So it's still a problem for Brad Jacobs because he's got no way to get either of the yellows out without losing a red. They keep coming back to the hit on the yellow at the top and try to split the two yellows up. But it's dangerous. It's a tough shot. And if you happen to roll either one of them too far where you're not sitting second and third, it's just hit the other one and you're out of your end here. They're going to go back to the freeze, I think. If you can get a corner on the inside of that red stone that's near the tee line, you might be able to be shot rock off this. I can't see how Brad doesn't give you a shot for two. I mean, it might be a tough shot, but you're going to have a shot for two. And maybe three. So Korey Dropkin with his first here in the sixth. Facing two, looking for the cornered freeze. See if he can't set up at least a deuce for his last one. Looks like a lot of ice, or a lot of room, but if the weight's good, it should finish. He will put it right on the corner, nudges it ever so slightly. I don't even want to try to predict who's got shot rock. Doesn't matter just yet. Well, I think the yellow one's got the one at the top beat. Boy, it's really close. One more look at this, and it's not just the throwing end of it. You got to sweep this right to a spot. They had to go a little bit for line at the end just to hold the corner. He nudges it only about 2 inches. It's in a pretty good spot. He could sliver the red that's the top of the 4 foot, probably get onto the yellow for three if Brad Jacobs doesn't throw. So what do you like here? They're talking about coming into the 12 foot to take away any kind of double off the red at the top of the 8 foot, whether it be the direct or even the slash in. Talking about the draw to the back corner of the button from the out turn as well. Korey could play the nose hit on the yellow he just threw and have it come across, get the double, but his shooter wouldn't be in far enough to get second if you made that. Brett Gallant a little concerned if you play that, he might be able to come off the inside of the yellow at about the 2 o'clock position, back into the red on the center line and come back and get your shooter that way. So they're going to go back to what they had originally talked about, which is in the 12 foot, take away the path for the thin double on that red at the top of the 4 foot both ways. Like you take it away direct and you also take away the slash in if you're in the 12 foot with this. Still not sure who's got shot rock. Korey Dropkin would probably be forced to draw from the out-turn side and then measure for 2. Nothing out of the brushers so far. The line looks like it's going to be good. Pretty much right where he tapped the ice. Dropkin wondering if he hits that hard, can he get it to wiggle through? Get the other 2 reds, get that ray stone to wiggle through. I'm not sure that he rolls in enough to be second or third anyway. They must not think they're shot rock. If you thought you were shot, because I don't think any of these options they're talking about are for 3, they're still just for 2. If you thought you were already shot, you just draw for 2. You must think the red is shot. He either thinks the red is shot or it's just too close to be sure. So he's going to play the stone that was just delivered, try to slash it into the red at the top of the 8-foot, have it come across, catch the top edge of the yellow, which will put it into the red behind it, and then he needs the first stone, the object stone, the first one he's hitting, he needs it to spin up and out, and that's just for 2. Your shooter's going to be too far out to be third shot. That's why I say if you think you got shot rock, you could just draw for 2 here. It is very close. You certainly couldn't be certain. Korey Dropkin with the big weight final stone, looking to kill 3 reds to pick up his deuce. Needs to be close to the nose on the first, makes the hit, comes across, catches the second, but doesn't get the spin up. It'll be a single point for Korey Dropkin here in the 6th end of play. He closes the gap to 2 points now, but Brad Jacobs will have last rock in the 7th. It's the A qualifier action here from the RBC Dominion Securities Western Showdown. 7th end action for you right after this. Well, no secret to how things are going to be played now. Brad wants to keep the middle open. Korey would like to see it covered up. Tried to throw the tight center guard, but weren't able to get it on the center line, so it was available to be ticked. Ben Hebert makes the tick. Actually put the yellow into the rings now, so no matter how well this is made, there's going to be a rock available to hit on the next one. Mark Venner, another chance to get the center guard up. Would like to touch center with it again. This time looks like he should get back to the center line. Ben Hebert was set to throw, and I think that was Mark felt like he saw something just before Ben turned his rock back over, so they're checking to see if there's a piece of debris there. Look to make the hit on the yellow at the edge of the 12-foot. Wants to roll back towards the middle. You certainly don't want to stay out there. You've already got a rock you could jam on playing peels on the other side. You want to have one clear peel path. They get a little roll, but not much. Dropkin, I didn't see a signal, but I expect looking for the long guard here. You've got potential jams on both sides. Don't think you'd come around this early. This is the fifth stone of the end, so they know the peels can start after this. You got to get some separation between these guards. You'd also like them lined up. That's a nice shot. Important to get those lined up because you don't want them to be able to peel the tight guard. If they're able to peel the tight guard, the long one by itself isn't much good. Well, there were rocks on both sides to jam on, and they've jammed on one of them already. Now, fortunate, I guess, for the Jacobs team, it stays out on the edge. Might be biting the 12-foot. That doesn't hurt them. The concern on a shot like that is if you ever were to jam it on that and have it roll back in towards the middle somewhere. For now, it'll be another long center guard and then a potential again for another jam. So both sides. You know it's a long guard when we can't see it in the overhead shot. This time they'll try to peel it towards that yellow. You wouldn't mind getting both of them now when you've left it there. Thin enough to simply clear everything. Rolls the shooter out of play. It's asking if they want to come in. I think it's too early. No hesitation from Thomas Howell. Wants to throw another guard. I don't know if, like, I wouldn't even be thinking about coming in on the next one. I don't know if that was just a mental ploy as well. You will see teams try to do that once in a while. You talk about coming in on this one so that maybe Brad Jacobs thinks, well, if we peel the guard one more time, he's coming around. Makes the guard again a little tighter this time. There might be a slight bit of angle, but I don't think he's going to try the double on the center. He's still looking at that one on the outside. He'd like to drive it over the top of it, maybe clip it on the way by. Then that side will be clear for the rest of the end. Mark Kennedy with the outturn for the left-hander. The big weight. Makes the hit. Just over the top. Now I really think that call down last end was a fake because there's not even any hesitation. You're going to throw the guard here, which I would have expected initially anyway. That tight guard's in a really good spot. You guard it probably until Korey's first. I heard Brad say just the straight peel. They're not really looking for the second one this time. I mean, he might call the sweep for it at the end, but you make sure you're over the top. If you clip it, great. Makes the peel, so now Korey Dropkin, with his first to skip stones here in the 7th, will look to come around. Might want to put this just biting the top of the button. You expect Brad Jacobs will peel the guard, then you'll have to guard it again and hope. So you need this rock in a good enough position to steal with. You know, if you could bury top 8, but Brad Jacobs probably draws to beat that with his last one. Brusher's just cleaning early. This is going to look like it's got a lot of room at the hog line, but then you'll see it really make the big move from the hog line in. And there it goes. Great line if they can get it deep enough. Just about full 4. Dead behind the guard, though. Definitely playing the guard off. I don't think they're ever looking at the straight back. I did see a gesture, and I think it was Mark. I saw the broom, and I didn't see which one of them was looking at it, but you might be able to come off that yellow at the side, maybe get all 3 yellows. I mean, if you get really unlucky, you might just spin it back to the middle, but with the weight that he's going to throw here, you'd have to be very unlucky to keep 2 yellows in there doing that. There's the potential to get all 3 of them, even if you just move it out of the top of the forefoot. You should have a relatively simple shot for your last one to pick the single. Just drives it by everything. Dropkin continues to sit 1 and now needs to make the perfect guard. These aren't as easy as you feel like they should be either on ice that curls this hard this late. I've seen lots of teams this weekend at the end, they're just wishing the rock would stop, and it just keeps on sliding, and by the time it stops, it's half a rock open. Korey Dropkin's final stone on the way without last rock here. He does have shot at the top of the 4. Needs the perfect guard here to perhaps pick up the steal. Again, looks like it's got lots of room there, but all the movement is late, so this should be close. few brush strokes at the end to get it to curl, and it does look like it's pretty well perfectly lined up. That's a good shot. Harder than Korey made it look. Made it look pretty easy. As the good ones always do. So Brad Jacobs will look to draw. In-turn side, needs full 4 foot to pick up the single. He does have room to get to the button on this side. But knowing at the worst, if he doesn't make this draw, it's a steal of 1. He's still 1 up coming home with last rock. That's not a bad position to be in. That takes some of the pressure off when you play a shot like this. Brusher's picked it up pretty much right out of his hand. I don't think that's a full sweep yet. You do see Brett Gallant looking up. Now they're definitely picking it up hard. The line's good to get to the 4 foot if they can get it there for speed. Gonna have to put this right on the tee line. That hung out a little bit more than they expected it to and not able to get far enough in. It'll be a steal of 1 for Korey Dropkin. He closes to within 1. 8th end action coming up for you right after this. It's the A qualifier. Brad Jacobs with a 1-point lead going into 8. Welcome back, everyone. 8th end action to begin here, and I apologize. I keep saying this has been the A qualifier. I was just double checking to see where everybody goes. The A qualifiers are on this morning, but they're next door. This is actually B event action, so the winner of this game moves into a B qualifier at 2:30 this afternoon. The loser's still alive. They drop down to a C semi at 5:45 this afternoon. They would need to win back-to-back games out of the C event, so both teams still going to be alive after this for sure, but both still going to have to play later on today. They will get a little bit of a break after the early morning draw. The second in a row, we saw the Dropkin team not able to get the center guard up touching the line, and Ben Hebert makes the tick shot. Mark Fenner with a second attempt to get the center guard. They're really going to have to go to get to the center line on this one as well. They will get it there, though. Ben gets a chance to hit the yellow in the rings now. Very similar to the setup from last end. Makes the hit, rolls towards the center line, but stays in the 8 foot wide open. So looking for the long guard again. Similar setup to last end. Now that rollover into the 8 foot does give the Jacobs team a little bit more room to peel over the top using the out turn. Peel at the out turn, go over the top of that redstone. There's less chance of a jam. Still going to be jams on both sides. It didn't really cover the tight guard. You might just peel it. Talking about trying the double peel. There is some angle there. They're going to give it a go. Trying to hit about 3/4, get slightly over the top of the yellow on the center line. Make the double and roll the shooter away a bit. Gets the top one, catches the second one, rolls the shooter way over to the edge. Not quite out of play, but it's not really protecting that much. That's a great shot. Now Korey Dropkin, not a lot to work with. One more look at it. You knew they were close all the way down. Solidly catches that second stone. The yellows go easy. The shooter rolled far enough to the outside that if you were dead behind it, you wouldn't be in the house. Korey Dropkin desperately needs a steal here just to get to an extra end, and he doesn't have much to work with now. You can see where he's looking for the guard now. It's just trying to place it off center, partly to change the shot, also partly because that would make it equal distance to get a jam on either side. Makes the hit. Did clip the one on the side, but thin enough that he clears everything, and now that'll give them one side they can peel through the rest of the end. Knowing that, does Korey Dropkin change his strategy here? At some point in time, you probably come around that red. Yeah, probably not on this one. Yeah, I agree. So he's going to play the guard just to the other side, directly in front of the red. Doesn't really change things. They're still going to try to peel it out. You don't expect them to hit it on the nose. It's just more about changing the shot. Maybe you get a 3/4 hit and back to the center line. Three stones left to go, and Dropkin really has to make his decision. When do you make the move here? The only shot you've got is, well, I mean, you could try to freeze the top one, but I think your chances are pretty unlikely that with the weight these guys throw and the lively striking bands that they can't blast everything out. You come around that red at some point. You got to either do it here. You could wait till Korey's first. You're expecting, that's I think what Korey said, that's his first. He wants to go around it. You're kind of expecting that Brad will try the run back. Your only hope is that he misses the run back and you could sit two. So they're going to throw one more guard. Brad Jacobs knows what they're going to play, but I don't think there's really nothing you can do to change that. You're still going to peel the guard here. You let them try to make that come around. If you make the run back, the game's essentially over. Peel is made. Now Korey Dropkin will have to come around that stone in the 8-foot. He'll try to get it as close to dead buried as he can without going into the back 12. You'd love to be full 8 foot. Not necessarily critical that your shot rock, but you want to be relatively close. If you're in the back 12, Brad Jacobs will just split the rings. Won't have to play the run back. At this point in the end, Korey Dropkin's just trying to make Brad look at 2 with his last one, and the other side of it, Brad Jacobs, if there's a way that he could be only facing 1 with his last one, have an open shot, that's all he's looking for. Sweepers have backed right away from this, not even bent over a little bit. This might be in danger of sliding through. It's deep. It does get buried, but hangs on to the back 12. Don't think with it being that far back, Brad will even entertain the run back. If he splits it opposite side of the 8 foot, he knows he's at worst going to be looking at 1 with his last one. All of this discussion is about just how deep do they want to be. Knowing that Korey Dropkin's likely going to play the hit and roll off this stone to try to get to the back of the 4 foot behind that red stone. If you get it just back of the tee line, he probably can't do that. By the time he's behind the red, he's probably too deep. Brad Jacobs with his first, just looking to split the house. He's got a 1-point lead in last rock here. Grabs just a bite of the 4 foot. Not a lot of options here for Korey Dropkin. You can still play the same draw, but you've got to catch a piece of the 4 foot. You could play the hit and roll off the one that was just thrown, but you're hitting that rock awfully high in the rings. By the time you roll behind, there's not going to be a ton of separation. Flat, but the double might be there to sit 2. Then you're hoping for a rollout. I think he's looking for the hit and roll across, and that might be your best option. I mean, if you could draw there, there's still no risk for Brad Jacobs to play the run back because he's not going to lose the second red one. If you make the hit and roll back there, even if it's a short run, there's still some risk to Brad to play it, because if you ever try the run back, miss the yellow, and roll the shootout, you actually lose. So going to look to hit that red. Probably throwing quiet weight. He'd like to hit this a little thinner so that he can get a little deeper on the roll. And hang on for the back corner of the 4 foot behind that red stone on the other side. at least force Brad into a trickier shot with his last one. Calling for curl. Needs the big roll. Makes the hit. Gets a roll. Not quite far enough. He's left that rock just fully open now. There is a little bit of risk, just in that if he comes too close to the red and happens to clip it, he'd give up too. But Brad Jacobs, one of the best hitters in the world, gonna just throw some weight at this. Pick it clean, does not need to stay. Just make it go away, and Brad Jacobs will move into a B qualifier later this afternoon. Final stone on its way. Well, they called for cleaner or for curl early. He's got a corner of it though. Brad Jacobs will pick up the single point here in the 8th end, and that gives him a 5-3 win over Korey Dropkin here in this B semi. That'll move Jacobs into the B qualifier at 2:30 this afternoon. Korey Dropkin still alive, drops down to a C semi at 5:45 this afternoon. We will continue to have all the action for you all day today and tomorrow on Curling Stadium here from the RBC Dominion Securities Western Showdown. We've got women's playoffs starting, I think, in the next draw as well. Men's triple knockout action to continue. 4 more draws today. And then men's playoffs tomorrow. The women's will conclude with their final later on tonight. All of the action available on the Curling Stadium Network. All games being streamed with commentary on selected features. My name is Shawn, Joyce. I want to thank you for joining us here this morning, and we look forward to bringing all of the action to you for the rest of this event.